Welcome to the latest edition of First State Kopites podcast. We're recording this just hours after Liverpool suffered a 4-1 home defeat to Manchester City. Just a few days after they also lost to Brighton. Both games are at Anfield. Well, let's start with Liverpool's Twitter feed described today as a day to forget. So hopefully in our conversation today, what we'll be able to do is at least find some glimmer of kind of light looking forward. One of the things that we do want to reflect on before we're done is kind of what about the rest of the season, because there's actually not that much of the season left. There are 17 games potentially to play, at least 17 games, 15 in the league and 2 in the Champions League. But to put that into perspective, we've been without Virgil van Dijk for 26 games now. So there's a lot less games left than the ones he's already missed. So we're going to start with today. And you can roll it into to kind of talk about Brighton as well. And what I guess the starting question, and I'll ask, I've been very impolite. Ryan's a first-time guest on the show. He's the treasurer of OLSC Delaware. So Ryan, thanks for joining us. Hopefully not the only appearance. We welcome back Haitham with that lovely scarf in the background, of which I nicely have a copy too, and the Sean and me. So we'll start with Ryan. Question: What positives can we take from the last two performances? Because if I go on Twitter, which I made the mistake of doing for our 10 minutes before we did, we need to sell everyone, and Salah and Allison are now on that list of who we need to sell tomorrow. Look for the positives. What do you take from the last two games?
Not really met positives from the games. The one performance I liked today was Jones. I thought his subs was a little head scratcher. He was starting to put a little bit his stamp on the game right before they subbed him out.
Yep.
And he was probably the best player on the team on the field for the day as well. And I think if he can just get going, start getting more games, I think he's going to have a real good future with the team as well.
Yeah, I totally concur. I was surprised that I wasn't sure who they were going to take off, but it did seem surprising that it was him. Especially, he wasn't far away from getting that goal, one that scooted off the defender. So Haitham, what positives, and maybe there are more positives, Ryan, but we'll circle back. Yeah. But Haitham, what positives did you take from today and from last Wednesday's game against Brighton?
I think the biggest thing for me is I have no idea why, but I just feel like a big weight is lifted off of my shoulder. I can only speak for myself, but I've always had the hope of, we can still do it. We can still win the league. It's a shit season. And knowing that, it's just with all the circumstances, with all the injuries, it's basically it's been a plug and play season.
Yeah.
So at this point, I don't want to say I don't have any expectations. We still have obviously chance for top 4. And we still have the Champions League. That's a league where any team could win basically. So I think I've always been under the mindset of I'm just going to enjoy my team regardless of how they perform. Obviously, it stinks when we get beat, especially at home. 3 defeats at home are not easy to take in, but at the same time, just knowing the dysfunction, the way I basically equate it to, I don't know, being a homeowner and sometimes having I don't know, a faucet that's working but it's not working properly, and you tend to tape it here and there to make it working, but it's not working, and finally it breaks, and you just have to fix it basically properly. So in my mind, I'm still enjoying the team. I'm still going to watch them. I'm still going to get up at 6 in the morning to watch them. I think they are a great team, just going through difficult time, just like anything else in life. And you mentioned Twitter earlier, and I am sick and tired of a lot of Liverpool fans. I've been sick and tired for a while now, to the point where I've contemplated shutting down my Twitter account a couple of times. So yeah, it is what it is. Still a Liverpool fan. Still think the world of all the players, including Allison. He has saved our behinds so many times. And then for anyone to say anything about Allison or defense or whatever, just
Yeah.
shove it.
It is interesting. So someone shared with me their pet theory. So I'll try this on you about Allison, which was that they suspect he might not have been. Their view is he wasn't looking great. Like even before he kind of made those two errors, like it really his focus didn't look like it was quite there. They were suggesting that he hadn't completely recovered from his illness.
Yeah, it's sick.
But the thing that confirmed it for them was the fact that Kelleher was not on the bench. So the assumption being like a sort of a not quite fit Allison is actually better than having Adrian. Although unfortunately, Allison was doing a couple of Adrian kind of things in today's game, which probably didn't.
One thing I read on Twitter was I know there's rumors that they collided, and Keller and Allison collided in practice before the Brighton game, and then that's why he was out for the Brighton game, and that he may have had a concussion, and then you had Kelleher not in the lineup today.
Yeah.
Allison, who's if it was concussion, he may have shown the effects from that still.
Yeah,
and that could be why he wasn't quite right.
Twitterland is behind the January 6th craziness. So I'm not gonna believe
it was certainly out of character for Alison Becker, that's for sure. So Sean, what are your positives that you're kind of going to take away from today?
From today, I agree. I thought Curtis played really well. I guess I mean, City are a very good team. We know they're a very good team.
Yeah.
I was saying it earlier, we're a wounded animal. We've had so many injuries. I mean, this season's just been terrible for us. But all in all, like until Allison started giving the ball away to the other team, we were right there. Yeah. And that never happens. I mean, Allison doesn't do that type of thing. So I would totally agree that, whether it was an illness or concussion or whatever it was, I would almost expect that something wasn't quite right with him today that we didn't hear about. Those mistakes also happened at the point in the game where you would almost expect someone that wasn't 100% to start kind of mentally wearing down a little bit. It was like towards the last quarter of the game, and it seemed like they were all mental errors, basically. So I don't know. I'm not taking as much out of this one as most people. I agree on the Twitterland nonsense. I think particularly today, and it wasn't unexpected at all, but I opened the Twitter and I'm just like, people are talking about this feels like the end of an era. And I'm like, no, it doesn't. Like, what are you talking about? This is the most ridiculous injury crisis I can ever remember a team facing. And we're still, in the top four right now. I mean, we got to hang on to top four, but I don't know. I think it's pretty impressive that we are where we are, given everything we've had to deal with. And the other thing I'd say is that I didn't see a lot of people talking about this, but I actually thought Kelleher was the one bright spot at the game of the midweek. I thought Kelleher actually played pretty well. I don't think anybody else played particularly well, but I thought Kelleher had played fairly well, which was promising. We have a lot of really promising young players coming up in our system right now, and so the idea that this is an end of an era, I mean, I kind of feel the complete opposite. I feel like we're going to come back just as strong next year as we were last year, and we'll have to wait and see, but this year feels like the title is probably out of reach at this point, which is not I don't think anything that people should be overly upset about, given everything we've had to deal with. But we can probably go on a good Champions League run, and we can focus on top four now. Like Haitham, it's funny you said that, because right before I got on, I started thinking that. I didn't feel that right immediately after the game, but from the players' perspective, it might be a little bit of a weight off their shoulders, just to focus on top four now. I don't know if that's true or not, but they're coming off a season where they won basically every single game, and so that's what they're used to, and so that sort of pressure is just not sustainable this year. And the result is what it is. I mean, I don't think it was a 4-1 game, really. I mean, Ali gave the ball away a few times, which was totally unlike him. And I didn't think we played all that bad, all things considered, really, today.
Yeah. I think we lacked a bit of intensity. And then when they did score, City, I felt like our level dropped. And then they gradually got back. And then we got the penalty. I'm going to go back to Ryan kind of one more time around, but I'm really do believe, and not many people have kind of taken up this when I posted it. The crowd thing is huge. They had 3 games with 2,000 people in. Played 2 of them were great. The third one against West Brom could easily have won it. Maybe the crowd got a bit edgy in that one, but they've lost the 3 games basically since the crowds disappeared. And I think that's a huge factor in terms of like those energy levels and the intensity that they want to play at.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with that. When I forget, it was last season or 2 seasons ago when we played City at home, and we scored the 2 like real quick goals of Salah, and I think Mane scored them like real quick.
Yep.
That as soon as we got that first goal, the crowd was there to pump the team up. And I think that team thrives off the energy from the fans, and not having that. I think there's 2 or 3 games that they had them there this season was probably some of the better football they played this year. And then I think not having them then back, it was sort of a let off. And I mean, you're not. I think Paul and I we're talking about this before. Is a lot of they had the balls all around the field. But it seems like it's taken a lot longer for the restart of the games. That our flow's not in it, and I think that's just something. I mean, they've been going hard for 4 seasons now.
Yeah.
You had the 18 run where they went to the finals, 19 where they won it, and finished close second with record amount of points, and then finally winning it last year and just dominating everything last year. So, and with having that break at end of last year, having a short off season, and then going back and then having the god awful amount of injuries this year, it's just decimated the team, and they're just lacking energy, and and they all look tired.
Yeah.
Out there.
I'd like to add one thing, actually. Sorry, Paul. So if you really look at it, the past couple of seasons, we are kind of the mirror, although it's not as it's not as bad as City from last year, but it's kind of like the same thing. They lost their leader per se last year in company, and they had a few injuries, and their season was in shambles, which is how we are this year.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like it's reversed, except it was still between us and them. We were just way far ahead in front of everyone, and now they are taking it, or doing the same thing like what we did last year. So, it's just look at history.
Yeah, I think there's. We don't need to kind of list all of the obstacles, but I kind of got to wonder. I was listening to kind of one of the Anfield Rap shows, and someone was highlighting how down Klopp appeared when he talked to the press about Matip having been lost for the year, and you got to wonder on the impact on that dressing room, like losing all the people they've lost. Whether it's like the long term Van Dijk, or whether it's Alisson for a couple of games here, whether it's Jota for a couple of months. There's a lot of people, and it kind of probably has felt to them, is my guess, that they sort of get by and then something else happens. So we'll turn actually. I mean, maybe Sean, if you got one last thing to say about the last two games, and then we'll turn and look ahead.
No, just to build on your point there, I think the other thing is that Klopp is all about sort of like, team building, team character, and supposedly, I haven't read a lot about this, but I've heard a little bit about it, that like they've put new sort of rules and things in place because of COVID that even sort of impacts their day to day as a team. So in addition to losing these players, it's not the same routine, that they all sort of eat lunch separately and kind of some of those things. So and then the other thing I'd say, I thought about, from what Haitham was saying was, if you remember a couple of years ago, I think it might have been the 18-19 season early on. I think that was the game when we played City and Mane got sent off really early. And if you remember, he just barely missed the ball on the break and he hit Ederson in the face and got sent off. And then it went in, I don't know what it was, 6-1 or whatever it was. And everybody was saying, oh, Liverpool, are, they're going to collapse. And today felt a lot like that to me. Like, well, no, not really. I mean, had a couple things not go our way. We had a lot of injuries. In addition to Ali coming back, this was Fabinho's first game back in a while, and he didn't look quite, to the level he normally is to me today. I don't think he had a bad game, but he just wasn't as good as he has been. And it's just it's tough when you're constantly changing the lineup like that. So yeah, it's is what it is. I think we move on and kind of focus on top four and Champions League now.
The City game was 2017, by the way, and I think it was 5-0.
Oh, that's what it was. Okay, yeah. I mean, I know it was a bad loss.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was one of those where we went down 10 men very, very early in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This one more feels like the loss to Tottenham at Wembley. That was the 18-19 season. And that's when after that loss, they went on that long run, unbeaten run after that. And that's how this one feels. Is you just get it out of the way and just move on to the next game.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing. Past teams were able to do that, or past seasons the team was able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they're able. Like, I think with all the stop and go of the season and just everything is, I mean, it's a game almost every other day. It seems like right now.
Yeah.
I think, I mean, it's tiring as a fan to watch it. I can only imagine what it's like to be one of the players, to be having to, like, you have a game today and then their next game is at some point midweek. So it's definitely tiring for them.
I almost don't think there was enough made, actually, of, given who wasn't available on Wednesday. It was the third game in 7 days.
Yeah.
Which just felt, they just didn't seem to have the same level of energy that they did in the previous 2 games.
Yeah.
So that gives us, maybe that's the pivot point to look ahead. So we have a week off. Well, 5 days, I guess, before Leicester early next Saturday. Then it's Leipzig midweek, and then Everton a following weekend, and then we have another week's break. Looks like so clearly, if the team are being prepped, it's for this series of 3 games. What do you think needs to happen to be ready to ideally win all of those games? I'll go with you first, Ryan.
God, good question. I just think they need to just get back to playing the way they're able to play. I mean, it's as simple as say. I think getting 2 new center backs who actually are center backs is going to be a huge help, whether only one of them plays and then Fabinho plays back there. But I think getting Henderson back in midfield is going to be a huge lift for them whenever he's back there. I saw somewhere, like, I forget, it was on Twitter somewhere, every loss or draw we've had would not either on the pitch or he's on the playing center back. But when he's playing midfield, we've won the games pretty much. So He's definitely the engine of the team. I think as soon as we get him back as in center mid, it's going to be a big boost for the team.
I don't think there was much likelihood of Kabak, for one, even though he was on the bench, ending up on the field today. Because I think I'm pretty sure that Klopp had actually said they haven't had any chance to practice, which given the players he's held out for longer than a game or two, wouldn't surprise you if Kabak doesn't get to be on the field much in this sequence of games. But I do think the 4-1 loss might have changed things.
I think you'll see either him or Davies on the pitch next week, and the other one as the one or the other as the back on the bench. But I think, you brought them in. I think this week they'll have a week's worth of training with the team, get a little bit more comfortable with the players, and then I think we'll definitely see one of the two out there next weekend.
So I'm not. I mean, Davis not being on the bench and him preferring Nat Phillips maybe says something about where he already sees kind of the pecking order, and that actually is consistent with, if you remember, we talked last week about Mark Lawrenson's opinion, which was, well, he's probably better than Reece Williams, but I don't know he's better than Nat Phillips. So
I haven't seen much of Davies. Just a couple of video clips out there. His build reminds me of Agger a little bit. Tall, able to move the ball out of the back. But if he's anything like Agger, built wise, hopefully he doesn't have the injury problems as Agger had when we had him.
Well, I think Preston lost yesterday, so they clearly missed him. I don't know. Who knows what made a difference, right? So Haitham, looking ahead, what do we need to do? Is Kabak going to be the answer?
Okay. I think so, and I agree with Ryan. The week is going to give the new signings time to, understand the way we play, and I can see Kabak coming in next match, or even when we play Leipzig. I think I was reading somewhere today. Again, it's totally my fault because I went to Twitter and I saw someone complaining about Thiago and how he just doesn't fit within the way Liverpool plays, and people just forget it takes time. And whether you are a world-class player, and some players got lucky, like Jota came in, fit right away, but that's not the blueprint. It takes players time. So just time for people like Thiago, the new center backs, to get more practice time, and go from there. That's what I'm looking forward to. Thiago is not, or hasn't lost his touch or the way he plays or his worldly class, and just because he joined us, he's gonna at some point he's gonna figure out exactly how he's gonna be able to contribute.
Yep.
So yeah, just that's what I'm looking forward to.
I certainly think I wasn't sure where he was playing today, to be absolutely honest. And I wish he'd stop drawing attention to himself with those stupid tackles. Just another comment. I mean, that's 3 games in a row now. He's got carded for.
Yeah, it felt like deja vu.
But he did look good, I thought, especially at Spurs, where he was clearly way more advanced. So I think there's something in that. So a few different thoughts, Sean. Just a complete aside, I noticed that Johnny of Wolves came back today. He had it's exactly 6 months since he did his ACL, and I was thinking October 17th, November 17th. Anyway, I got to April 17th. Does that mean virtually back in 6 months if he's the same pace of progression? I was really excited, and they took him off at halftime. So I don't know if that he had like some injury recurrence. I don't know, but anyway, middle April. It's not that far away. What else do we need to do apart from wish for a miracle around one particular centre back? Sean?
I mean, I would agree with what Ryan and Haitham were saying in terms of having the week to train should help a lot. It won't surprise me if Kabak plays against Leicester or Leipzig. Particularly, Leipzig he would be somewhat familiar with.
Yeah.
Even though that's a challenging game. I think one of the things we've really missed this year is just having any kind of aerial presence on set pieces, and even when other teams are trying to clear the ball, and he, supposedly will bring that. He's very dominant in the air from all reports. So that's something that we really need. And if he's playing alongside either Henderson or Fabinho, I think I'd feel comfortable with that. But yeah, the training time, and I think Pep Linders mentioned it this week, something about how the lack of training time between games has just been critical this year to making adjustments. And I was bringing up when Simon Brundish on last year, he talked about this, and that we're like a German well-drilled machine. Like that's the way we operate. Everybody knows where everybody is at all times, and that comes from the training and everybody kind of knowing where everybody is and same players playing the same positions. And it's just been anything but that this year. There's been no time for training. We're constantly changing people in and out. So yeah, I mean, and the Thiago stuff, like, I don't know. I'm like, what game are these people watching? Like, this guy is clearly the most talented player, or one of those talented players on the pitch. He's brand new to the team. He's making some rash challenges. I don't know what that's about. I don't think that's necessarily in character for him, but I think he often gets called for fouls that are like not really fouls too. Seems like the rest of them kind of been picking on him a little bit. So I don't know. And he's also not really a six, like a true six in terms of like how fat Fabinho is a six. He doesn't really have the physical stature to kind of be that kind of player. So yeah, he's supposed to be playing further forward in a 3. And yeah, I mean, I thought he played well today. He's kind of doing, I think, what he's been asked to do. I actually thought, not that it really impacted the results of the game, but I really felt that when Curtis and he came off, it felt like we scored the goal, and it looked like we were getting close to scoring again. And then when he and Curtis came off, it just felt like we just sort of lost that. And then Ali gave the ball away, and things just kind of fell apart. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing him play more. I mean, I love watching him play. He's just brilliant on the ball, and the more and more he adjusts the team, kind of knowing the players, knowing the types of runs they make, all those kinds of things, he's only going to get better. So,
And if he does play against Leipzig, he won't have the scars of yesterday where Schalke lost again to Leipzig 3-0.
I mean, Schalke are just such a mess. It's hard to pick apart one player from that disaster. They've been terrible for almost 2 years now. So, yeah.
No. So you touched on Thiago. The other summer signing that we hopefully will see back soon, and maybe you guys know more about this than me, is Jota's back in training. Is he in line for returning?
I heard Klopp say he may be another month out.
Okay.
I think he was progressing good, and then it's slowed down a little bit recently. But I think after the Brighton game, he was saying probably another month out for him. So,
which strangely is not that many games. I think after those 3, there may be only one more league game in February.
Okay.
He's been doing his best to work on his FIFA skills. He's the number 1 FIFA player in the world, so which is good, making the best out of his time.
I saw someone on one of our feeds actually asking, when was Trent going to play him? And I didn't want to break the bad news that he beat Trent in the final, didn't he, of the competition they had last year?
Oh, I didn't know that. That was him?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Trent, if you need to understand how competitive Trent is, you just needed to see him at the end of that. He was not happy. It was like almost as unhappy as when he tried to kick Edison today. Yeah.
There's actually there's one thing that just popped in my head. I was actually glad today that uh, the ref, forgot his name now.
Michael Oliver.
Michael Oliver was in
Mhm.
charge, not to give any Liverpool fans any space to complain about reffing.
Yeah.
Sorry, I think it's a little too much sometimes when it comes to us and reffing. With knowing the fact that refs are just not consistent and very bad this year, but it just feels sometimes it's too much.
Uh-huh. Well, I think the thing about Oliver is that he might give things that you're like, oh, come on, that seems soft, but he'll give those for us as well. Whereas
Right.
I can't think of another referee who has given us anything that like.
I think
that.
the refs are just bad.
Yeah.
Period. It doesn't matter if it's us or anyone else. And it's a matter of luck. It's
There's
a
too many
matter.
that are old and overweight. I mean, that's the thing. That's one of the other things I've missed. You know what I mean? Not that I'm one to talk, but like I'm not a professional referee either.
Right.
I don't have to run up and down the pitch like those guys do.
So it's interesting because I don't think Mike Dean or Lee Mason fit that description, Sean. But apparently, like Lee Mason isn't wanted by Southampton now, and Wolves don't want him refereeing any of their
Right.
games. You saw that.
He was the VAR ref, wasn't he, Lee Mason?
Was he? Was that why? Yeah.
Yeah, Dean was the field ref.
Yeah.
And I mean, there was no way that should have been red card.
Yeah, that was crazy. That was
I think he was just raising his arm up, and the guy walked into his elbow, and they sent him off for it.
Yeah. Oh, that was in yesterday's game.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the Dean Mason comment from Southampton came after Wednesday.
Okay.
Yeah. So. Oh, I thought we were going to get through a week without VAR.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, my fault.
No, that's okay. That's okay. So let's kind of round it out then. Clearly a couple of players to come back. Leicester, I did watch the Leicester game today. They looked okay. Vardy is back for them next weekend. So at the top, potentially at least 17 more games left. So kind of the focus is kind of narrowing. What are your hopes now for the rest of the season? Let's leave it with that. Ryan.
Obviously I would still push for top two. I mean top four obviously, but still go for top two. United's 7 points ahead of us right now. I think that's catchable. Especially how up and down United. They can run 2 games and then they'll lose a game that you wouldn't expect them to. If we can get onto a run of games where I think second place is definitely doable, and making a run, trying to have a late run in the Champions League. I know this is tough, especially now that they have to go to Budapest in midweek next week. So that's going to add a little bit to the more travel now. So, but it's definitely, I think the Champions League run is doable. Tough tie this week or this round, but having the home fixture second will definitely help out.
Well, yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
based on what we said about Anfield, right? But so I'm definitely hoping that some of that plays out in the context of what Haitham described earlier, in terms of maybe there's a sense in which there'll be some pressure off. Now it's like, the season's what it is. Let's just make sure we end up in a Champions League place, and ideally in a Champions League final.
Yeah.
So Haitham, well, obviously stated my hope for the season. What about you?
I would love to see Virgil back at some point. I don't want to set any expectations from the standpoint of top 4, top 2. At the same time, I understand the financial ramifications if we don't have any European football next year. So I guess, yes, any European football next year, not from a pride perspective or we should be winning or whatever, but just from a financial standpoint. Just like Ryan, a good run in the Champions League. Hopefully we end up playing Atletico and beating the shit out of them, because that's like that's my wish, I guess.
In Istanbul.
Yeah. Yes. Absolutely.
So, Sean, you have the last word. What do you hope for now?
Just, I think top 4, focus on making top 4. And I would say top 3 rather than 4. I don't know. It's going to be tough, but I really don't think much of United or Leicester. I watched their game, United's game yesterday and Leicester today, and neither one were very impressive to me. I think if we played like we did today for the first 70 minutes against either of those teams, we probably would have been ahead. Because I think we played, we weren't terrible today. City's a very, very good team.
Yeah.
And when you think about the Champions League, like how many teams in the Champions League would you say are better than City? I wouldn't say, not very many. So we can probably go on a run there. Leipzig's not an easy one, obviously, but if we can get past Leipzig, maybe we get a little healthier and come back and kind of go on a run, sort of my hope. So, I think there's still a lot of season to play, like you were saying. And hopefully we get healthier and we can kind of make the best of it.
Yeah, for sure. I think one thing I wish for the next 3 games in that 8-day period is that, we don't have any more setbacks. Because I think we went into the Brighton game thinking great, and then it's like, I think Alisson's going to be missing. Oh, Mane's not going to be fit. I was like, all of a sudden you put now half a team. So
yeah.
So yes, some relief in that direction I think would help to build some confidence, and maybe play a centre back pairing more than once to see them get used to playing with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think we'll get ended there. We'll be back next week, hopefully to talk about Liverpool's corner turning performance at Leicester. Don't want to prejudge too much, but a nice dose of last year wouldn't be bad, would it? So Ryan, thank you so much for joining us. Hopefully this will be
thanks for having me.
Your last visit. Haitham, always great to see you. And Sean, wonderful to see you again too. Up the Reds.